Wolfman, you are crazy. I'm going to step outside and sock a stogie.
Hello, Dracula.
Jesus! What are you doing out here, Igor?
I'm listening to a podcast.
Outside? By yourself? At the party?
Yes, it's called the Thicc Boys Podcast. They're two funny guys who have all kinds of conversations.
Igor, we're having conversations in there. With each other.
I'm an introvert.
Whatever.
If you also listen to the podcast, why not leave a like, a rating, or a review on your favorite podcast platform? That way more monsters can find it. Or else.
So I can't remember the last time I actually drank an energy drink. It's been a
Like not Monster specifically.
just in general. Like I think it's been almost a year probably.
You
maybe
didn't
2 years.
subsist on them in the Navy?
No, not really. At that time I was taking a lot of pre-workout, which was just like that has a lot of caffeine in it
like
too.
pure caffeine. It's like powdered caffeine.
Yeah, straight up caffeine. I mean, there was like some other stuff in it, like nitrous oxide and that kind of stuff. But like I'm sure like some other types of like stimulants. Like I remember when like pre-workouts first came out.
Yeah.
It was like the Wild fucking West. Or like when everybody was taking oh shit, what was it? It was some type of like amphetamine. What was it?
Like some kind of derivative of meth.
It's something like, I mean, it was essentially they were using it for like weight loss pills.
Yeah.
And like everybody was taking them. It
Like
was
a hydroxycut?
Yeah, like hydroxycut was a big one.
Yeah.
And there was like another one that had like a yellow jacket on the front of it. And I can't remember what the name of that one was.
Oh, I know what you're talking
They used
about.
to sell them in the gas station.
Yeah, gas station pills.
Yeah.
I've always been really curious about gas station pills. That one was called like Jacker X or something like that.
Yeah.
I like the ones that are supposed to be like fuck pills, and it's like it's got like a gorilla sitting on it. It's like I just want to buy.
Who is known to have a very small penis.
Yeah. like
hey, you small penis fuck.
yeah, you can fuck just with the aggression that a gorilla has. I've always been curious about those because like they always have them like up at the front.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the condoms behind.
Right.
And it's like, you know, you shouldn't feel ridiculous going to buy a condom because you're practicing safe sex,
Right.
You're being responsible. But it's like
However, you should feel ridiculous
buying condoms
wiener pills
well,
from a fucking gas station.
I've always felt like buying condoms is shameful. And I don't know why. Like no matter where you go and you buy them from, you're like, yeah, could I get the Trojan Fire and Ice, please? And it's like, ooh, I have a preference, and like, it's like now the person behind the counter knows too much about me. Yeah, I need the magnums, the biggest magnums you have for me and my baby arm of a dick, and I'll take the gorilla pill too. I just like couldn't imagine like what would you go into a gas station and buy to make the person behind the counter really uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Like. Just go
like
and
some duct tape.
Yeah, go and get like some like really cheap beer, like a thing of super glue, some Advil, and then like 10 packets of condoms and like 4 or 5 packets of gorilla fuck pills. and they're ranking all this shit up like this guy might be a serial killer. But yeah, I've always been like, I've seen the ones that are like, they're not in like QT and they're not in like racetrack.
Right.
They're always in like, the like, Exxon station behind Walmart.
Right.
And so like, I've always been curious about the ones that are supposed to like give you energy. Like, what is
the fuck pills or just regular pills?
Not the fuck pills, just the regular pills.
Like I've got all this energy and a raging boner.
I'm really just set up for failure. If those pills actually do anything.
I've never taken them, so I don't know.
I don't think that they do. I think they're just placebo, just sugar
think
pills.
so?
Yeah.
I saw, because they have like ones. It's like they have like those ones, and then there's like other ones where it's like they like help you last longer or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it says it like on the packet or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, does it really?
It's like if a slight wind is setting
And by
you
this
off,
time, hopefully, Mother has stopped listening to this podcast.
it's like if a slight wind is setting you off, I don't think these gas station pills are going to help you out a whole bunch. It's always funny too, because like if you like, I haven't had TV with commercials in a long time.
Yeah.
Because most people probably just stream everything, and I have YouTube Premium, so I don't even see ads on YouTube anymore. Which, by the way, is 100% worth it.
Really, I usually just hit the little info thing at the bottom, and then it's like, why do you not want to see this?
Yeah.
I'd hit inappropriate, and then click send.
It's just like false reporting everything. So you're taking an active approach.
Yeah, an active approach. I'll false report every ad.
Yeah.
On the platform.
And it's like, even if it's like something you like.
Even if it takes longer for me to do that than just wait for it to be over with, I'll just false report it.
It's the principle of the matter. But I remember, like, when we were younger, if you stayed up late and watched, like, Adult Swim or something, and those commercials would come on, like the
Girls Are Gone Wild commercials.
Well, those, and then, like, just sex. Everything was sex. Every commercial was sex.
All of them.
So I guess the two people who are staying up late are these fuck-brained degenerates. And then, like, me, who's just trying to watch Aqua Teen. So it's like you have, like, a Girls Gone Wild commercial,
right?
Where they're flashing their boobs or whatever. And then you have a commercial about a dude, like, talking about, like, oh, my dick is too small, but with these pills, I have a big raging cock.
Right. There's, like, those ones, and what were the other ones? It was, like, the phone sex hotline ones or whatever it was.
Yeah. It's like, lonely tonight? Call me. I'll be here waiting. Fucking phone sex. Just like, hello? I'm horny. Yeah, me too.
I wonder how much like they charge you per minute for that.
I'm sure it's outrageous.
Yeah, it's probably like $5 a minute or something.
Because they're hoping for people who,
have more cash than fucking brains.
Yeah, or just like so extremely horny that they just gotta, talk to somebody on the phone about it.
Right, and it's not like they're gonna get therapy over it.
Yeah. Man, the post-nut clarity after that and knowing what that bill's gonna be. It's $500 phone bill. I wonder if, like, sex is always sold, right? So there was always, like...
since the dawn of time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was always,
brothels and...
shows where you could go see, like, like the women kick their legs in the, what do you call that? The kick dancing thing that they do, and they'll pull up their ruffly skirt, and they've got, like, pants down to their ankles, and all the men in the crowd are like, whoa! Yeah. God damn!
They've got, like, stockings on or whatever.
Yeah.
So, like the Rockettes or whatever it is.
Yeah. Like, that was, like, that was, like, the precursor to, like, strip clubs.
Right.
And then you had, there was those strip clubs that had, God, what do you call those rooms? It's like a circular room, and the stripper goes in there, and then, like, all around the perimeter of the room are, like, these little private rooms, and there's, like, a glass pane in between your little masturbation cave and where the stripper is. And, like, you go and you press a button, and you're standing in this box, like, looking at this stripper.
Right.
That, like, 40 other men are also looking at.
Yeah.
And you're just... just looking at her. Like, how did that young woman not feel like an animal at the zoo?
Well, it's like how did we get here from like the dawn of civilization?
Yeah.
Like,
oh, this is where the road led. Yeah. some dude put a rock on a stick, and here we are with our masturbation caves, and like. I wonder if there was ever like dirty radio broadcasts.
Oh, I'm sure at some point.
Like in the 1910s.
You remember like back in the day, like there was always like they had like the one channel, like it was like the fuzzy channel or whatever, and you could like turn it on, you could see like sort of make out a boob.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like there was like that signal bleed over from like from Skinamax. Yeah.
Right. It was like he was like a wing.
Yeah, you're like, oh, there it is. The funny ones to me are like the ones that made their way onto like daytime television. They're not quite as saucy as like
right.
As the other ones, but they managed to do that by positing it as like this medical condition.
Right.
Like erectile dysfunction. If you're like 20 and you can't get a boner,
it's an issue.
That's probably you need to have that looked at.
But I think like if you're like in your 60s or 70s, like it's nature telling you
it's done.
We're done here.
We're done. There's no more boners left.
We're done here. This thing is only used for peeing now.
You're like chemically altering your body to send blood down there,
right.
And your penis wakes up like, oh, what? I'm sorry, I thought we were done.
Like the tomb of like, was it Tutankhamun or something?
And it can't be a very good boner, let's be honest.
No.
It's probably like, like a sponge.
His half-cocked boner.
Like a dry sponge. Like it's kind of rigid, but it's also really squishy. Yeah, it's like you probably only have so many boners in a given lifetime.
Probably.
So use them wisely. Don't go to the show where the woman stands in the rotunda.
The rotunda.
Yeah, don't spend $500 on the phone talking to a woman.
Yeah, you should probably like be more careful.
Yeah, just be careful what you're doing with that thing.
Yeah,
and get you into a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Legally, financially.
I think most trouble that has ever been had
is because of boners.
Because of boners.
Boner trouble.
Sort of like.
You're not wrong.
How many wars were probably fought because of boners?
Yeah, well, think of Troy.
Yeah.
What was her name? Helena?
Yeah. Helena of Troy or whatever it is. Yeah.
Like 5 nations went to war because like 2 dudes had a boner.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It's amazing to me that like more people didn't go, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to war for that. Like, why don't you go fight him yourself?
Yeah. If you want to fuck her, go fight him.
Yeah, exactly.
Or fuck him.
Yeah. It's like, am I getting anything out of this at the end of it?
Do I get to fuck her? No, I have to go down to the Coliseum where they have a woman standing in the middle and we're all just up in the bleachers just... There's like so much like, like old artifacts and stuff of like these like little men that people carved out of wood, and it's like a normal sized dude, but like a
massive schlong.
Yeah, 18-foot long wiener.
Yeah.
So people have just been obsessed with boners ever since there's been
Which
people.
is actually a pretty stark contrast as opposed to like the way that they used to do the sculptures like in ancient Greece and Rome, where they had real tiny,
itty bitty little
wieners. Yeah,
and that's like they did that because they thought that like a large wiener was barbaric.
Really, I had always heard it's because like if you're looking up at it, like you don't want this schlong like in your face.
That's a good point. It is standing over you.
It's like standing over you. So like the first thing you notice is this massive hog, just like
looking you in the eye.
Like,
it's like they kind of stand back a little bit.
You like go to look up, it's like I'm like right here.
You can feel like tickling the fine hairs on your forehead. Have you ever looked at speaking of those statues? Have you ever looked at there's this real famous one where a dude is like got like a thin sheet draped over him or something, and he's kind of like holding the sheet, and it's all solid marble.
Oh yeah. I know what
you
you're
can
talking
see
about.
like
It's like almost see through.
yeah, it's like
sheer.
100% realistic,
Right.
and it's like they got a solid marble block and turned it into that.
Right.
Fucking blows my. Nobody's doing that now. Nobody's doing that these days. I mean, and did these guys have like any kind of real direction on how to do that, or just they didn't go to school and get taught how to do that?
No. I mean, I think most of these people were just people who had an artistic talent, and then
that's all they did.
They saw it through.
Day in, day out.
Right.
Was just that.
Like, they had something that they were driven to do.
Yeah.
Like, you have, like, some people that it's like they can't help themselves. Like, they have to do it. You know what I mean?
It almost, you have to wonder, like, I think guys like Michelangelo, Da Vinci, and, even, like, musical composers, Beethoven, guys like that.
And Bach and...
Yeah, if those guys might have had, like, autism to some degree.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And they were hyper-focused on
definitely
just that one thing.
Right.
Because, that, from what I understand, that's a lot of people who are autistic tend to kind of gravitate towards this one thing and just
they become
laser
like,
focus on that.
They become like a savant.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wonder, because, they would always say about those people that they were odd.
Right. Well, they were probably
strange.
autistic, and like at the time, they didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
Right.
They just were like, they are geniuses.
Right.
And they probably were.
Yeah. Well, I think, too, especially, I would assume that probably most people that are very, like, high level, like, probably, like, people who work with, like, physics.
Yeah.
And, like, that kind of stuff. I think you would be hard-pressed to find somebody that you would say is, like, a normal person.
Yeah.
Just because I think...
Like me or you.
Yeah, I think the amount of brain power that you have to put, like, towards something like that, like, you have to take from other areas.
Yeah.
Like
you had to pull from, like, the social side of your brain. And,
like, regardless, like, the human brain, if I think the way it works is, like, you top out at there's some type of, like, top-end horsepower that you got.
Yeah.
Right? And so, like, I think that's across everyone.
Yeah.
Like, unless, like, we find a way to, like, genetically, like, advance the human horsepower, like, as far as your brain's concerned.
And they probably will.
Which they probably will, but we haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
So there's really no way to measure it, but I think that probably, of course, the people that are working, like, with physics and, like, mathematics, and, like, coming up with all these breakthroughs and everything.
Yeah.
Like, they, like, of course, like, their brain works differently than everyone else's. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like they can't... They can be worried about this over here when they're worried about whatever this problem is that they're addressing.
Right.
Like, look at Elon Musk. Like, obviously, there's something a little off about this guy, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's obviously, like, a super genius. He's very, very smart.
But he's a strange man.
But he's a strange fellow.
Yeah. It's like, you have... It's almost kind of like you have a budget. And you can only spend so much on, which part of your brain you want to carry the most load.
Right.
And some people spend their entire budget on, like, whatever area of the brain does math and physics.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you see, like, these people who are coming up with, like, these equations to solve, like, the gravitational pull between two celestial bodies so that they can launch a spaceship, but they've also got to calculate, the escape velocity of that thing.
Right.
All the different planets, and there's so many different angles. They're thinking in, like, 4 fucking dimensions.
Right.
And, like, I'm over here, like, if I'm trying to figure out, like, a hypotenuse, I have to draw the triangle.
Like, how do I solve for the angle of a line I don't remember?
I've got to draw a triangle and, like, label the points, and, like, I can't just do the math.
Like I said, like, I think that those people have, like, some form of, like, autism. I don't think all of them. I think that some of them are that way. And I'm
talking like the top.
Right.
Like,
right.
Like the abnormalities.
Right. Well, it's like some of the most intelligent people, like, work in, like breakthroughs, like, in healthcare and, like, computing and that kind of stuff.
Astrophysics.
Yeah. Like especially like the people that work like on quantum computing and everything like that.
That shit. Like thinking big, right? Like space big is one thing.
Right.
But when you start going down into the universe,
Right.
quarks and quantum particles that are so small that they actually you can't really measure them.
Right.
Because in order to perceive it, you have to bounce light off of it.
Right.
And it's so small that when the photon hit it, it moved.
Right.
So as you're seeing it, it no longer exists the way it does
Right.
as you're seeing it.
Right.
And those people they intrinsically know that and can operate with that. Not me.
Yeah, it's the amount of like it's like I was saying, I think that you have to have some form of like autism in order to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Like you have to be like singularly driven to be able to think like that.
Yeah.
Like you can't be worried about like societal norms. You can't be worried about all this other shit that's going on over here.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these people, like, that's just what they do.
And a lot of those people are asexual too.
Right.
They have no sex drive.
Right. Well, it's because I think your brain, everything has converted over to this thing.
It's focused on this one area.
It's focused on this one area.
Yeah.
Whereas like with like, I don't want to say like a normal person, but like a regular person,
Or a standard.
like your standard human,
issue. Your standard issue human.
yeah, like you have all this other shit.
Yeah.
Like you're worried about. Like you're worried about. Like is this the social norm that I'm supposed to be following right now?
Yeah, do people like me?
Right. Like you think people like they don't give a fuck.
No.
Like they're trying to solve this problem.
Yeah.
Like their life comes down to like they want to solve this problem. Like that's what gives them joy.
Yeah.
Whereas like a standard person, like you have like all these other things that you're worried about.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like thinking about like Einstein. Like he had several theories that wouldn't be proven until 50, 60 years after his death.
Right.
How was he right about something 50, 60 years before we even had the ability to test it? Because he wasn't a normal person.
Right.
He was an abnormal.
Right. It's like you don't like one of those just doesn't pop up like every other day.
Yeah, that's very, very, very rare. You know, and it's like a lot of people who are autistic are also nonverbal.
Right.
They can't communicate, or they have to communicate in a different way.
Right.
And it's like, how many of those people can look at something that's stumping the general populace and immediately see an answer?
Right.
But they can't communicate that to everyone else. It's crazy to think about. It's kind of scary to think about being trapped in your own head.
Oh yeah.
Not being able to
be able to properly convey
an idea how frustrating that must be.
Right.
It's like it's making sense to you, and everyone else in your whole life is just like this fucking monkey that walks up and is like,
yeah, exactly.
Scratching their assholes, and you're just like, I don't fucking belong here. Like I don't have any place in this world.
Right. Now,
Excuse me.
I do believe, like, obviously there are people like that.
Yeah.
However, I think that the word autism gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
For kids that just won't fucking behave.
Yeah.
Like, you have, like, a kid that's, like, smearing shit on himself and, like, punching other kids.
Yeah, but he can also, like, eat and get dressed and...
Right, exactly. But, oh, boy, he can work that tablet.
Oh, yeah, he knows how to do that.
Yeah, he knows how to do that. It's like, but... It's like, of course, like... I just... As a parent, I see a lot of other parents that are just fucking lazy. And, like, they don't want to, like, raise their children. So they do this thing where it's like they take them to the doctor to try to get it figured out.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, like if you're on insurance, something that you might not know is that if you go to the doctor, they're gonna find something wrong.
Yeah, so that they can bill your
insurance. Yeah. You're not ever gonna go to the doctor. They go, oh, you're good.
Oh, you're fine. Go ahead and go home. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So they'll go, ADHD. Let's put him on Ritalin.
Yeah. Just drug him up.
Yeah, let's drug your fucking kid up.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if I was a doctor, I'd be like, have you tried fucking disciplining your kid?
Yeah. Have you told him not to do that?
Yeah.
How dare you talk to my son that way?
Exactly.
I think that, there are. I know for a fact that there are kids out there who do have things going on.
Right.
Of course they
And
do.
that's not to disparage those
No.
people.
But the people who are lumping their children in with that because it's an easy out, just because you don't want to fucking parent and all you want to do is stick a
Exactly.
tablet in their face. And you
Right.
probably wind up fucking their brain up by doing
Right.
that. Because you didn't want to parent them, now you're grouping them in with the kids who actually do need help.
Right.
And you're overloading the system.
Right.
So there's all these rogue agents who don't need to be a part of this thing, who
Right.
just need some direction in life.
Right.
And all the kids who actually are having trouble can't get the help that they need.
Right.
Or people from the outside looking in say, oh, they're all just misbehaving.
Right.
Because, all the ones on the outside are, very clearly normal kids. They're just
Right.
little assholes.
Right.
But the ones in the creamy center are like really fucked up.
Yeah.
They just kind of wave them
All the
off.
shitty kids are just agent provocateurs, all right?
I mean, that's how it is with most things.
No.
Like,
And as a human nature, it's easy to get cynical about things.
Yeah.
And to be like, oh, the system's just fucked, and all
Yeah.
these are just bad kids.
yeah,
Right?
it's just this or it's just that.
Right.
It's because, every single thing has a more nuanced explanation.
Right.
And there's more angles to consider.
Right. Because
But
you can't as a person, it's hard to deal on a level that's that massive.
Yeah.
It's hard to deal on a
Yeah.
level that's like a school district.
Yeah.
Because there's thousands of kids in the school district.
And that's a big problem.
And that's a big problem.
And everybody wants to give big problems little answers.
Right.
And it does not work that way.
Right.
I mean, think about, it's, you see it in politics all the time, right? So, if you ask any conservative around here what they think of liberals, they'll probably, first of all, they're going to have somebody who pops in their head.
Right.
That this manifestation of what a liberal is. How the boogeyman is, he's here again. And they're probably going to tell you that they're all this, they're all that, every single one of them,
Right.
all the way down. But if you go and you ask a liberal person, what do you think of a conservative? They've got somebody who appeared in their
Exactly.
head. And conservatives are this, they are that, they, all the way down.
Right.
And then you start when you call, everything's a Nazi,
Right.
right?
Or a libtard.
Well, when everything is a Nazi,
Right.
it makes it hard to pick out the actual Nazis.
Yeah, it makes it pretty hard.
And so the actual Nazis
It can
know
hide
that.
better.
They can hide a lot better.
Yeah.
Because if you take a wolf and you hide him, in a group of chickens, he stands out.
Right.
But if they all look like chickens, then it's hard to pick out the wolf.
Right.
So they do. So you're kind of making an issue when this thing that you oppose, right? And you call it all this one thing.
Right.
You are creating a problem for yourself.
Right. Exactly.
And on the conservative side of things,
If you're calling everyone a communist.
well, if you're calling it, I've seen a lot with the word pedophile recently.
Yeah.
So not every gay person is a pedophile.
No.
But if you call all gay people pedophiles,
Right.
it makes it easy for the pedophiles
Exactly.
to hide
in
that community.
In the community.
Yeah.
Correct.
So you're creating an issue for yourself.
Right.
And all the gay people who just want to be gay and
Right.
live their lives now have to hang out with pedophiles. When they didn't want to do that.
Well, it's just when you, it's like I was saying with large groups of people, it's easy to go, oh, the whole system's fucked.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to use this term to apply to this entire group, as opposed to going, I'm going to take the time
Yeah.
to pick out the people who are actually the problem inside the group,
Yeah.
instead of condemning the whole group.
Yeah. It'd be like if you had an apartment building.
Right.
And in one of your apartments, somebody died in it.
Right. There's a bomb.
And yeah. And you say, well, get rid of the whole apartment.
Right.
Just leave that there. We'll start over somewhere else.
Right.
Like, why don't you take care of the issue? That way the other people living in the apartment don't have to suffer.
Right. It's the same thing that people do with pretty much everything nowadays. It's like you have a car and your check engine light comes on.
Yeah.
And instead of just addressing what the check engine light is,
taking it to a mechanic.
Yeah, taking it to a mechanic or taking it to AutoZone and having them stick the computer thing on there.
They will tell you exactly,
They will tell
what's,
you
wrong
exactly
with
what's wrong with the car.
Yeah. The car told me
Yeah.
it needs some oil.
Yeah. people would be fuck this car, and then take it
go buy a new car.
Yeah, then go buy a new car. It's just the same deal. Instead of actively addressing what the issue is.
Yeah.
And the thing is when...
Because that's an easy solution to a big problem.
Right. And really it's like people on the fringes or whatever, these people in these fucking nutbags.
Yeah.
It's like, as people get more and more polarized, then people in the center start defending the people on the fringes.
Yeah.
Because you're actively attacking my group.
Yeah.
Right?
And as far as you can tell, that person's in your group.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you have people that are conservative that are actively defending Nazis.
Yeah, actual Nazis.
Actual Nazis. And you have people on the left that are actively defending child fuckers.
Yeah.
So...
And it just kind of creates a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly.
It's like, see, I told you.
Right.
I told you. Look, Hans, I was right. Yes, it is very clear. You said your last name was Wedenstein? Interesting. I tell you what, that Lehman fellow sure is weird, but I like him.
He's wearing these weird lightning bolt symbols. I don't know.
I think he's an electrician. Whole house smells like burnt wire. I mean, that's what the fucking Taliban did,
Right.
right? When everybody in this, Afghani village is a terrorist, it makes it super easy for the actual terrorists
To go hide.
to go hide amongst all the other quote-unquote terrorists.
Exactly.
So as far as you know, you're rolling in there with your Humvee, everything's a target.
Exactly. Yeah, because it's not like those people... It's not like they're wearing like a badge or something.
Yeah.
That lets you know, like, hey, I'm not a terrorist. But the people that you can't wear this if you're a terrorist.
Yeah, we made that rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like a video game, right? Where you put your crosshairs on a guy and it turns red. That's an enemy.
Right. It's not like a comic book. The villain isn't wearing a suit and doesn't have a lair. You know what I mean?
A lair. Yeah, I mean, but it's easier just to, bomb a whole village than it is to go in there and surgically remove the actual issues. Because I think across the board, most people, the vast majority, 99% of people, just want to live their lives.
Right. They want to raise their family.
Yeah.
If they don't have a family, they just want to live their lives.
Yeah.
They want to have some type of security.
Yeah.
They want to have individual freedoms.
Yeah.
And they want to make some money and provide a better life for themselves and the people that they love.
And the people that are actively going out and attacking others, they're the problem.
Right,
Just
correct.
because they came from the blue side doesn't mean that everybody on the blue side's an issue.
Exactly.
I mean, it's back to the kid thing. It's like I feel that the answer to the question of is autism has it become more of an issue? Are more kids getting autism, or have we just broadened the definition of what autism is? And I think it's definitely that, because I know I can think of 3 individuals that I know personally who have autism. And when I say have autism, I mean a doctor who sells pills said that they have autism. 2 of those people very genuinely do have autism. One of them is just a little fuck.
Right.
I can see it. Everyone can see it. The doctor that sold you the pills saw it.
Right.
But he also knew you were going to buy them pills.
Exactly. What's the same thing that happened with like the Oxycontin deal? It's like you had people that would go in and they would say, oh, I had an issue at work, or I have like tinnitus in like my elbow.
I got plantar fasciitis.
Yeah, I have like some type of like issue with my fingers.
I got a boo-boo.
Yeah, I'm working with my hands all day long. And they're like, well, you have chronic pain, so we need to do something about that.
Chronic pain.
It's
just pain.
Like
you just exist in pain.
When they came out with OxyContin, their like thing was it's like we're going to rid the world of pain.
Yeah.
What are you living in this utopia?
Yeah.
Like that's you can't do it. Like that's not how this works. And so these doctors like
you'll be numb to everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot that goes into it, but like the FDA essentially signed off on this, saying it was like non-addictive and like all these other things, and like, that was not the case.
Because the family who created OxyContin had people in the FDA.
Right.
Yeah.
Not only that, but the Sacklers with Purdue Pharma, if I'm not mistaken, it's actually the same. I think it's the same family that runs or has some stake in Purdue University.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty certain. I think that's what I had heard. If not, my apologies to Purdue University.
Yeah, we're not slandering.
Yeah,
we're just misinformed.
Right. Exactly. So, you don't have to. And that's not to say that there weren't good doctors at the time that were trying to actively help their patients, right?
Well, I mean, because those doctors were being told, "Hey, we have this new pill that will help your patients."
Right. But there's so little like general physicians now, as opposed to the amount of people that they see. They don't have time to sit down with you for an hour.
Yeah.
And to
like a small town doctor
to like give you an actual diagnosis. And you would think like we don't live like in a particularly large town, but even still like we don't have doctors that can come in and do that. They have people they have to see.
Yeah.
They'll usually come in. They'll give you about 7 minutes, and then they got to go. They got other stuff that they have to do. So it's easier for them to go, oh, well, there's this new medication that's coming out. They say that it's not addictive. So, and I'm trusting that the drug rep that came by and that told me this is they showed me all these studies and everything that were not real at the time, but the doctors didn't know that.
Yeah.
Right?
Like that one bar graph that they showed that didn't make sense, like the way a graph would display information.
Right.
Like the x-axis was like super long and the y-axis was like teeny tiny. And they're like, oh, those bars going up are super small.
Yeah, exactly.
No issue there.
Exactly. So you have issues like that, and the system is just sort of fucked. Mm-hmm. Just because it's always, I've always said, as humans, like we don't have the capacity to deal with things like on a large scale. That's just not how we operate. Because since essentially the dawn of time, we've lived in like small communities of like up to 200 people.
Yeah.
And that's about the range of like people that you can actively have relationships with, and you can actively know them and be able to see them and know, oh, that's so-and-so, right? So you can't really deal with like tens of thousands.
You can't have a personal relationship with 50,000 people.
Right. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. You don't have, there's not enough time in your life to get to know that many people.
Right.
And people change.
Right, exactly.
So it's like, there's going to be derivatives of that same person. It's like, the main hospital that's in our town is like a franchised hospital.
Most of them are franchised hospitals now.
And so it's like when I had my kidney stone, I went in there and I was like writhing in agony.
Right.
And I had
some corporate schmuck.
Yeah, I had to go in, talk to the lady behind the desk, and I told her everything that was wrong with me. And she says, okay, go sit down over there.
Yeah.
And then I go into another room, and this dude comes in. He goes, what's wrong with you? And I tell him all the things that are wrong with me, and he types them into a computer. And he says, okay, wait here. Then another person came in and said, what's wrong with you? Right. And he's like, I see here on this piece of paper that I printed out with all the information that the other guy typed onto it that you have these problems and this is what's wrong with you. And I said, yes.
Like, yeah, I'm hurting, dude.
Yeah. So they take me back into a room and I lay down on this bed. I'm just like, It's like 6 hours at this point. And then the doctor comes in. Hi, I'm Dr. So-and-so. What's wrong with you?
Give me the pills.
Just at that point, just give me something. I can't fucking think. Go get the piece of paper. That guy has it. It's got all my problems on it.
He like walks in, he's like, hello, what's the problem? You're like, ah!
He's like, kidney stone, eh? I've seen this before.
He's like, you know what you need? You need some gas station boner pills.
Jacker X. You look like you need a pick-me-up, a little energy to get you through the day. That was so fucking scary, dude, waking up and, like, because I mentioned before on the podcast, like, I woke up and I thought I just had to take a horrible dump.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, this is going to be a good one. And I went to the bathroom and nothing was happening because I didn't have to shit. I was just in pain. And it just kept getting worse and worse and, like, compounding upon itself.
Yeah.
And when I realized I needed to go to the hospital was when I looked at myself in the mirror and my skin was just like copy paper white. And I was like, oh no. I didn't have any idea what was going on. I told Mary and I was just like, it's like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
I woke Mary up and I'm trying, like, there wasn't even like gentle about it. I walked over, I was like, I was like, take me to the hospital. And like, I got those words out, and then I didn't do anything but moan and scream for the next 7 hours. I thought I was fucking dying. I was like, oh, what is,
like, this is it.
Is this it? Just pure agony.
Like, this is how it ends.
Pure agony for half a day, then that's it.
Could you imagine being like way back in the day, like some fucking caveman, like you wake up in the middle of the night and like you go outside to like try to take a dump, like of course everything's trying to eat you out there,
all the bugs,
there's like a bear over the side, and then like nothing's happening, and then you start panicking.
You have this horrible radiating pain in your side, you're just oh. You make it back to the cave, you're just oh. Some predator hears that, and it kicks in his instinct.
And like all the other cavemen beat you to death to get
so you'll shut the fuck up. Just hitting you with clubs and rocks. The day before, you were totally fine. You were dealt a bad hand.
Like your last moments in life, are you just getting beat to death with sticks?
It's pure agony. I have a little bit of PTSD about it. I mean, like, anytime there's like a sharp pain in my side, I'm like, what is it happening again?
You ever had like a sharp pain like in your chest? You're like, oh, is that a heart attack?
Yeah, like, here it is. It's finally come for me. Well,
imagine being like living like during like the witch trials, and like you have one, and like they burn you at the stake because you turned white, like just pasty pale white.
Yeah, my wife turned white. Burn her alive, please. Like there's people standing in line holding their wives.
Yeah.
Next. Throw her on the pyre. It's like, well, I guess I'll go to the wife shop. Give me another one.
What a shitty time to be alive. The worst.
Kidding. The absolute worst. Colonial America, fuck that.
Yeah. No, thank you. I have no interest. Like I said, like, out of all the eras to be alive, that's the last one I'd ever want to be alive in.
Yeah.
I'd rather be in fucking England with the shit troughs going down the street.
Yeah.
Like, I have no interest in being over here with, like, these Puritan fucks.
Yeah.
Like, working in some godforsaken field after, like, all the Indians, like, come by and scalp my wife.
Everybody, yeah.
No interest. No thank you.
No thanks. Well, speaking of the witch trials, let's bring in the podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 43rd episode of the Thicc Boys podcast. So this is the first in our October series of episodes. We kind of tangented off right there at the beginning, but we're going to talk about, you know, some of the spooky things and the scary things that happen, and you know, it's that time of year. And also, you would have heard the special intro music that we had.
There you go.
Yeah, so I hope
you should
enjoyed
do like
that.
the intro, like Scooby Doo Beach, like bat screeching deal or whatever.
I had this thought the other day. So like, think like the old monsters, right? Like you're talking like
the Blob.
Like even before that, I'm talking like Frankenstein.
Oh yeah.
And like Nosferatu.
Yeah.
And like, you know, the original zombie that walked really slow.
Right,
Brains.
Yeah.
I have a hard time believing that people saw that and were like, you know, like even before movies talk about books.
Right.
The people that are writing horror books or scary books or somebody reading that like, just scaring themselves.
Well, like if you've ever read like a horror book, like horror books are a totally different deal than a horror movie.
Right.
Horror books, because that's your brain.
Yeah, your brain's doing all the heavy lifting there.
Your brain knows that your brain intimately knows what you are most afraid of.
But like even looks like a horror book written now, yeah, of course that's, you know, it's probably going to be some terrible shit.
Right.
But like the first ever horror book, you know, it couldn't have been like, of course by today's standards it's probably pretty tame.
Right.
But it's funny to think about somebody back then was reading about a guy who grew like a third eye, and he was fucking terrified of that.
The creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah. It's just a dude draped in seaweed. I've always been curious, like, if you took, say you go and you plucked somebody out of the past who just came out of the theater from watching Night of the Living Dead.
No.
You know, the black and white, it was shot on, like, Super 8 film or whatever kind of film they had back then. And you sit them down and you make them watch Hostel.
Right.
You know?
They'd have a heart attack.
They would have when Hostel came out, people were having heart attacks.
Exactly.
So
I remember the first time I watched Hostel, I was like, holy shit, this is not...
Yeah. Well, I mean...
Like where they cut that dude's Achilles, and he like goes to stand up, his feet just collapse forward.
No. I think that, you know, it's, I think as an adult, it's a little bit harder to be spooked by, like, you know, supernatural, you know, or like things like that, right? Because there's no more magic in the world as an adult.
Yeah, no, everything has lost its luster.
Yeah. So, like, you have to, like, okay, the only thing that can scare me is shit that would actually happen.
Exactly.
So, I mean...
Like a crazy person.
Like a crazy person, yeah. Those exist and they're everywhere. Think, like, you know, home invasion movies.
Right.
Those are always scary because that shit happens.
Right.
But, like, when you're a kid and you're watching a movie about, like, a chair that comes to life on, you know, Goosebumps or...
Right.
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah. Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Are You Afraid of the Dark? Yeah. When you're a kid, you're like, fucking, that shit is scary as hell because, like, I kind of have a little bit of a grasp of, like, the rules of the world, and this is, like, breaking all of that.
Right. Well, like I said, like, as a kid, like, everything can hurt or potentially kill you. Like, you are very you're very susceptible to, like, everything around you. Yeah. But as you grow, they're like, oh, well, that's not as scary anymore because I could kill that before it kills me.
Yeah. I remember being a kid and I watched an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? And or maybe it was Goosebumps. I can't really remember. But there was a dude, it had something to do with soup. I don't know. He was laying in bed and like a dog, he was on the second floor of his house, and like a demon dog jumped through the window of his bedroom and attacked him. And I was like, I live on the second floor. You're telling me the demon dog can just ride him off the ground and jump in there? And so, I always had this fear of, like, windows for a while. That something, like, it was just going to be dead quiet. So it was just going to bust in the room, like, ah! Just, like, abrupt chaos.
Not enough time for you to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. Oh, have you ever had something like that where you, like... like your brain takes just like a half second too long to kind of get it
process
what something is, and there's a very real fear that starts to sink in. It's like, oh no, this is new. There's not supposed to be anything new. But yeah, I you know, as a kid I was always like, I didn't understand, you know, that can't happen.
Right.
There's not going to be a demon dog.
Right.
Because again, I mean, I still believe in the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus and like.
Right.
If those things are real, why can't the demon dog be real?
Right.
But now as an adult, I'm like, oh yes, a masked murderer could bust in my door and stab me and my family to death before I have time to get to my gun.
Well, I still think that like supernatural stuff kind of gets me.
Really?
Oh well. So, I lived in this apartment in Auburn when I went to the University of Auburn.
Yeah.
And there's some things that happen inside
Unexplained
things that happen inside that apartment that there's really no explaining to be done.
Other than it was just a ghost.
Yeah, exactly. So
a poltergeist.
A poltergeist, if you will. So I remember when I first moved into that apartment, so it was just a one-bedroom apartment. So you had like this little living room, and then off to the side was a kitchen, like a bar, and then there was a closet with like a water heater and everything in it, and then the door that goes into the bedroom. So the very first night, I move into this apartment, and I go into my bedroom. I close the door from my bedroom into the living room, and I lock it.
Yeah.
And so I go sleep, and I wake up in the morning, and it's open.
Wide open.
Wide open.
Ooh.
And so I go, that was odd.
Yeah.
And so I don't really think much about it. And a couple days go by, and I'm sitting in my chair watching the TV, and the closet door has like a grate on it.
Yeah.
And
like a ventilation grate.
Like a ventilation grate.
In there,
right.
Yeah.
And it sounds like somebody has taken their finger, they go, wing, like that, and they run their finger down the inside of it.
Yeah.
And I go, that was odd.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like the air coming off of the whatever equipment's in there.
Yeah, you're trying to put an explanation to it.
I haven't opened the thing yet because I'm assuming that's a utility closet, right? And so I'm sitting there, and a couple minutes passed, and it goes, wing, like that.
Yeah.
And I go, okay, so obviously, like, it's every once in a while this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And then, like, 3 seconds go by, wing, wing, wing.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck. And so I just don't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, I can't get out of this lease.
Yeah.
So me and you going to have to get along. So, and then Allison used to come down and visit me. And so I go to take the trash out, and there's been times where, like, the microwave would start itself. Like, you have to open the microwave and close it to get it to turn on.
Yeah.
Nobody ever opened it. Nobody ever closed it, and it just starts at, like, 5 minutes. Boop, boop. And you hear it go off.
That's so weird.
Yeah. And then she's sitting on the couch, like, facing towards where the little kitchen thing is. Mm. And all of a sudden, the door on the refrigerator just swings open while I'm taking the trash out to the dumpster.
Yeah.
And I come inside, and she goes, hey, the door on the fridge open. I look over, and there it's fucking open. I go, that's odd.
You're just like, yeah, it does that.
Close it. And then, like, one time, she was laying in the bed, and there was, like, the comforter had, I guess it's not sheer, but it was like this, it's not silky. What's the word I'm looking for? It's like a...
Satin?
Not satin.
Velvet?
Not velvet either. I don't want to say, like...
Corduroy?
It's not like metallic, but you could, like, run your hands down it and make like a sound like when you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like, you know that kind of material?
Yeah, I think I know what you're
I don't
talking
know
about.
how to explain the material, but you could hear, like, if
you... like a whippy noise.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so... she, like, I'm laying there, and all of a sudden I feel somebody grab me and, like, shaking me to get me awake. And I go, what? And I, like, get up, I'm like, what's wrong?
Yeah.
And she's like, hysteric. She's like, oh, my God.
Like, freaking out.
Like, freaking out. And she said that, and I believe her, she said, like, she felt somebody, like, grab both of her legs.
Yeah.
And start, like, pulling her down the bed.
Oh, my God.
And then, like, I get up, I'm, like, checking all around. I'm like, is somebody in this fucking apartment with us?
Yeah.
And there wasn't anybody there.
They were right.
Right. And I was like, well, I have to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Because regardless of whatever happens tonight, I still have to get up in the morning.
Right.
I can't get out of this lease. So, once again. And so she like stays up the rest of the night watching TV while I'm asleep in the bedroom, and she's like constantly coming there and checking on me.
Yeah. Making sure you're not being dragged off the bed.
So there's been stuff that's happened like that like I can't really explain it.
Right, yeah.
Right? And I've heard enough people that I know that have, well, think about Mom and Dad's house.
Yeah, Hank.
Right.
Yeah, the ghost that lives with Mom. We talked about Hank last night.
Right.
When we were still living over there, so we had trouble in that house with the AC for the upstairs.
Right.
And like so during the summer, you couldn't be up there.
No.
It would be 110 degrees up there.
Right.
So we all hung out downstairs. We slept in the living room, and I remember, so because of where the couch was, if you're sitting on this couch, you could see through the dining room into the kitchen.
Right.
And above the kitchen was a flight of stairs. So like in the kitchen, there's a staircase that goes up to the game room. And those stairs are like old and wooden. And
right.
so if somebody's coming down them,
you
it's
can
very
hear 'em.
loud.
Yeah.
And I was just about to fall asleep. It's all dark in the living room. The whole house, all lights are turned off. The only light I can see is from the kitchen. And it's like this faint blue light coming off the display of the oven in there.
Right.
But it's enough to kind of illuminate the kitchen in blue.
Right.
So I can see it. And I'm laying there, and I hear the sound, the unmistakable sound of somebody walking down the steps in the kitchen.
Right.
And I'm laying there, and I'm paralyzed. And I'm just
There's
like...
nothing you can do.
The tension building of
you
hearing...
close your eyes real tight.
I hear the steps going... Go, 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 down to the very bottom. And, of course, there's like a pause. Like something has stopped at the bottom of the stairs. And I'm looking in the kitchen. And then I saw like this shadow person come around the table and stop in the doorway, and it was looking at me.
You're like, oh, fuck.
And I'm like laying there just... what happens next?
Yeah.
And I was so scared I couldn't move.
Yeah.
And so I finally like... I guess, like, my lizard brain took over, and it was like, get the fuck up! And I scrambled up off the couch, and I ran into the foyer and turned the light on.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I've got light. The light will keep me safe. And I'm like pressed up against the wall, and my chest is, like, rising and falling. And so I was like, well, I can't do this.
I
can't fucking sleep in there. So I went in the computer room, and I closed and locked the door, and slept on that couch in there with all the lights on.
Right.
The scariest thing that ever happened to me, as far as like, a quote unquote ghost or whatever, and I may have told this on the podcast before, I can't remember, but so in our bedrooms, there was 2 flights of stairs that go up to where our rooms were. And anybody that's ever lived in a 2-story home or something with stairs with other people, you can recognize the sound of somebody coming up the stairs.
Right.
And you can tell who it is based on their cadence and
right.
the weight of their footsteps and everything. So where my bedroom was, when you got to the top of the stairs, if you look directly on the left is your room. And then if you look to the right, down the hallway is my bedroom.
Right.
And where my bed was at the time is if you stood at the top of the stairs and you looked right down the hallway, you could see me laying in the bed.
Right.
And I was sleeping with my back to the hallway. So I don't sleep with my back to doors anymore. I can't do that.
Bold choice.
Yeah. So I was sleeping, and I woke up to the sound of somebody coming up the stairs.
No.
And I was like, I don't recognize those footsteps.
No.
I was like, it's not Wes and Aaron. They're both up here. It's not Mom or Dad.
No.
I was like, I don't recognize those footsteps. So immediately I'm like,
there's an intruder.
I freeze.
Yeah.
And I can hear the footsteps go up the first steps and hit the landing and then go up the second steps. And I mean, clear as day.
Yeah.
I hear the footsteps stop at the top of the hallway. And I can just feel that whatever's there is looking at me.
Right.
Because my door's wide open. I'm right here. I'm vulnerable.
Right.
I'm this precious little lump of meat on the bed.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm cold.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm sweating. And I'm like, I need to turn around and look at what that is.
Yeah.
But I can't.
Yeah.
I can't move.
Because I can't get turned around fast enough to prepare to defend myself.
Yeah. I can't turn around, see this thing, figure out what it is, and come up with a plan. And the amount of time it's going to take it to get to me. So I'm laying there, and I can hear whatever this thing is kind of shift its weight.
Yeah.
And then it comes running down the hall towards my bed. And, like, the moment that whatever it was got to my bedroom door, like 4 feet away from me, I flipped around and went, ah! And, of course, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And, like, a couple minutes later, I hear Dad go, shut up!
Oh. Well, I specifically remember being, like, staying home sick from school. And being home sick from school, I would lay on the couch in the living room and watch TV, because most of the time that's where we were when we were sick. Just because it was so fucking hot upstairs, you couldn't be up there. Especially not with, like, a cold.
Yeah, it's just fucking miserable.
Yeah, miserable. Like, you'd probably sweat it out quicker, but I can't do that. So, I remember staying home one time. I was maybe like in 9th grade or something, so I was the only one home. And I was pretty sick. Like, I was sick enough that I crawled myself into the kitchen to get something to drink.
Jeez.
And then crawled back into the living room. And so I remember, like, kind of going in and out of, like, sleep. And I remember waking up, and I could hear, I specifically remember hearing somebody walking around
in your bedroom.
In my bedroom.
Because your bedroom was directly above
the living room. And then I hear them run, boom, 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 all the way down to your room, and then run all the way back to my room, stop, and then go boom, like that, like they jump. I was like, oh, fuck, like, the fuck?
The fuck is going on up there?
And so, like, the rest of the time, I'm just, like, laying there. Like, is it going to come down the steps?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Because I'm so weak, I cannot defend myself. Like, all I'm going to be able to do is scream while it's eating me alive. And I don't even know if I have the energy for that.
What would you have done if you'd heard it start coming down the stairs?
I guess crawled outside and then sat in the carport and waited for someone to go. Which is funny because I remember as a kid growing up, I don't really remember anything ever like that happening in the log cabin.
No, it was just Mama's house.
Just Mama's house.
Because we switched houses with Mama. Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember anything like that in the log cabin. But Mom and Dad's current house, Mama's old house, is like, something's up there.
Yeah, something's going on.
Something's going on in that house.
Right. I don't know if they built it over like an Indian burial ground or like what's going on. I don't know if there's a skinwalker in there.
A skinwalker. How come ghosts always do shit like that, like open your microwave and like fuck with your stuff and like
probably because they're bored,
make noise? I feel like if I was a ghost, I would take it way too far. I would like jump on top of somebody in bed and be like, and they'd just be like, ah! Like I'd be very clearly a threat,
right.
You know.
So yeah, I think there's still some supernatural stuff that if I see it in a movie, it might get me sometimes.
Yeah, it kind of reawakens that thing in the back of your head. Yeah.
But I think with scary movies, they do better if they don't show you the monster.
Oh yeah, yeah. We said that before, definitely.
Right.
Well, because your imagination always takes things way too far.
Right. Like the movie that I always reference for this is Drag Me to Hell. It was such a good movie. Yeah. Such a fantastic movie.
Yep.
Like grade A horror movie. I had not been that scared since the first time I watched The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Right. The Exorcist to me is like the creme de la creme horror movie because it was made way back in the day. It's got all the elements. Mm-hmm. They didn't have a big budget for CGI. They had to do this on their own.
Do you think that helped them? They had to do it all practically?
Yeah. Remember, what was the movie? Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
They did it on $10,000.
Yeah.
So they had to come up with innovative ways to get you to be scared. They couldn't do it with like all this computer generated graphics and all this shit.
Right.
Because once you start doing that, something in your brain goes, that's not real.
Yeah, Paranormal Activity, I think it hit the two like pillars of what horror is. It's tension and uncertainty.
Right.
It's like because you can't really see, you kind of make out what that is, but you can't really see it, and it lasts a real uncomfortable long time.
Right.
And I think that's when your payoff happens.
Right. But going back to Drag Me to Hell, so there's all this tension that is building up because there's like a gypsy or something.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the movie by this point, I'm going to spoil it. It's years and years and years old at this point. So there's like a gypsy that curses her because she wouldn't give her $1 or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember specifics. So the gypsy curses her and says within like a week or something, you'll be drugged to hell or something like that. I don't know how the gypsy has a direct line to hell, but she does.
She's like, hey, I need a favor.
Yeah. So as the movie's progressing, there's like this stuff that keeps happening to her.
Yeah.
Right? To let her know like the time's coming. And so she's frantically trying to figure out. I mean, at some point she realizes this gypsy isn't full of shit. Like this is probably going to happen. Yeah. So she's frantically trying to figure out, well, how do I circumvent what has befallen me?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And so towards the end of there's all this tension that's building up because she can't get it figured out.
Right.
Until she goes to like a priest.
And
or
up to
something.
this point, you didn't even know it was actually going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but it's becoming more and more transparent. This is going to happen.
Yeah.
Right, and then they get to this point
where doesn't she like wake up and a bunch of bugs crawl out of her mouth or something
right,
like that?
Yeah, some type of weird something happens, right? And then so I think she goes to like a priest or something, and he's like, "Oh, well, you have like a demon attached to you, and like the demon eventually has to go back to hell, so she's going to take you with it."
Yeah, he's on vacay.
Yeah, exactly. So they're like, "We can put it in a goat, like." Because goats have always been...
Take the goat to hell.
Yeah, take the goat to hell.
Goat didn't do anything wrong.
And so they're sitting around like a round table. I don't know why, in a church somewhere. Yeah. And they're doing like the chant thing, and they're putting the demon in the goat. And then the goat starts floating up like into the middle of this table, and like turns out, it's like, "You stupid bitch," and like the goat starts talking, and like I guess the goat bites one of the people like on the hand, and then the guy gets up and he's like doing the jig, and now he's got the demon in him.
Yeah, now it's a circus.
Yeah, now it's a fucking circus. I remember letting out like an audible groan in the movie. I was like, "Oh,
you ruined it." The fucking Sam Raimi.
But like Paranormal Activity that's a great example. The first one at least.
Yeah.
The first one's a great example of building tension the entire time.
Yeah.
But you're letting the people's imagination.
Yeah.
Like you can give them little hints.
Because there's no real payoff until the very, very end of that.
Till the very end, and it's not in your face either.
Yeah.
Like your mind is still doing a lot of the heavy lifting, right? You see it. You see like her for like a split second, and then it's done. It's
you
over.
don't have enough time to process it.
Right, exactly. Like I specifically remember in the movie, like one of the most intense parts in that movie is where I guess they're laying in the bed, and it's been a while, I think, and I don't know how, to this day I don't know how they did it, but they take and you see like the hoof prints.
Yeah, because then they put like flour on the floor.
They put flour
or
like baby powder or something on the floor, and you see the hoof prints in the floor, and like your mind goes, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah, because it walks right up to the bed.
Right, and you can't see it.
Yeah, but you know it's
There's
there.
nothing. You know it's there, but you can't see it. So your mind is trying to process, like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Like that's probably the most intense part to me of that whole movie. Right. It keeps going past that point but for me, like up until that point, like you don't really, like you hear it coming down the hallway, you hear it doing all these things, but to see
knocking
the hoof
over pots and plants,
to see the hoof prints and like your brain be like, oh fuck, there is something.
There actually
there.
is something going on.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like a rat running around.
Right. Some souped up rat.
It's not Old Man Jenkins in a mask. Well, before we run out of time, let's jump into Super Cringe Thursday and Super Creepy Friday.
Oh, yeah.
So, in case you missed it, guys, for this month, we're going to also do Friday posts where we've, just post some things that we found to be creepy or disturbing in the theme of Halloween there. So I guess we should jump into Super Cringe Thursday first. So this is another post from Wesley's new favorite Facebook page, Cringy TikToks.
Right.
And there's not a lot going on here, but there's enough. Is this person, are they an inmate? Do I remember her wearing an orange shirt or was it like a jumpsuit?
I don't know because I was laughing so hard at the
end. So, for those of you who didn't see it, it's a woman, and she's singing that song by oh fuck, who is that by? It's "Wake Me Up Before You Go Go." I just had the artist's name on the tip of my tongue, but she's singing it. Well, singing it is a bit of a stretch. She's attempting to sing the song to the camera. It's a TikTok of her singing, and she has no teeth, and like I think she's got like one vocal cord left.
Everything's pretty fried.
Everything's pretty fucking fried, and she looks insane.
She does.
Screaming the song.
Her hair is a mess.
It looks like she woke up and immediately grabbed her phone and started yelling the song into it. And she's like, "Wake me up, you know," and she sounds like that.
Right.
And you're like, "Oh God, oh Jesus!" And you're watching this thing, and it keeps going and going, and she gets to the end. She gets to the end, and she like forgets the words. So she just goes, she's like, "Don't leave me hang yo 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 as you put yo." So she like stumbles over her words, and then she just screeches.
The first time I watched it, it shocked me so hard when she did that.
Because it comes out of
I
nowhere.
Lost it, just started crying, laughing.
She fucking, I'm telling you, she screams exactly like Smeagol from Lord of the Rings at the end. I'll do the little back-to-back thing. So here's her scream, and here's Smeagol's scream. So, oh, it's just, so the cringy aspect of it is that it's one of these situations where she thought that was good enough. She was convinced that people needed to see it.
Right.
So it's cringy because of, I guess, the lack of awareness.
Right.
Because I feel like if I recorded a video like that and then I watched it, I'd be like, no one needs to know that this happened.
Right.
I'm just going to hit delete.
Right.
I'm not going to post this for millions of people to see.
Like, it's pretty, and I don't know what's going on with her, but it seems pretty delusional.
It does. It does. And she's an older woman. She's probably, I don't know, what would you say? Mid-70s?
It's hard to tell.
It is hard to tell because her hair's like dyed black.
It's hard to tell.
It's and the lighting in that video is like,
She could be in her 60s.
she looks like she's in like a hospital room.
Yeah.
Like the lighting's like incandescent and like washed
Right.
out. So I don't know where this took place.
Right.
Or what. But yeah, I mean, I went to, so because it was a TikTok, it shows her handle at the end of the video. And I was curious. I was like, what else has she done? And so I Googled her TikTok, or her handle, and I went to her TikTok page, and she's got like 9 or 10 videos. And it shows you kind of like a preview of it. Like it skips through the frames of the video and everything, and it's mostly the same thing of like her face, like right here. And you can tell she's screeching. And I couldn't watch them because I don't have TikTok.
Right. And I'm not putting it on my phone.
And I'm not putting it on my phone because it's Chinese spyware. But
I only want American spyware.
yeah, the stuff I can't say no to. The videos have like millions of views.
Really?
Millions. And she's garnering like a cult following. So it could be a William Hung type situation.
You think so?
Yes, where it's awful.
She knows it's awful.
She doesn't know that it's awful.
Oh.
She's convinced by her millions of adoring fans that they love it because it's good. Not because it's like seeing the bearded lady and the strong man
Right.
at the freak show.
I just remember watching it and going, because I saw it on there and I'm like, what is this? And I opened it up and it's like, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. And then she gets to the end and just goes, Wah! It took me by surprise.
Yeah, it's shocking.
I didn't know it was coming because I kind of know how the song goes.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not a note that gets sung.
That doesn't happen in the song. Yeah, because that's your brain's like, okay, I kind of know the song. Here's what comes next. Wait a second. Hold up a second. That wasn't right. So our other post, our Super Creepy Friday video, that's an old video.
Is it?
Yes.
I have never seen it before.
Tara the Android and her hit song, I Feel Fantastic.
I feel like android is a generous term.
It's a mannequin.
Right.
Let's be honest here. It's not an android. It's a mannequin. But so what it is, it's like this still shot. And this guy needs to direct horror films because his lighting and his like shot composition, which
Right.
I know he didn't do on purpose,
Right.
is so fucking unsettling. Because the camera's set in such a way that like everything in the shot is perfectly symmetrical, which
Right.
which is unsettling when you see that. Because when you, in your real life, you know, what you're seeing is not symmetrical. As far as like the the background and things like that.
Right.
So she has like one window like perfectly to her left and one perfectly to her right, and the lighting is completely consistent in the whole shot. It doesn't look real.
There are no shadows.
There's no shadows. And she, the android, Tara, looks like she's about 12 feet tall. Because the camera's kind of pointed just up enough
Right.
that she looks like that. And here's a little quick audio clip of the song she's singing. And so it's not like, there's not enough information for you to like gather what's going on.
Right.
It's confusing. And that's unsettling. To me, one of the creepiest parts of that video is just like that synth going on in the background.
Yeah.
That like
Right.
it's like, because even that, it's like audio, like
It's garbled.
yeah, the audible portion of this is also confusing.
Right.
So every aspect of like you're just being hit by like
Bombarded.
with all this confusion. And I don't know the story behind it, or like if he was if he had set out to be creepy, or if he thought that this thing was going to be like like a cult icon or whatever. But
Got a Vivo.
it's got a Vivo. So I mean, I watched the video, and it's like standing in the room, like it seems like all the other lights in the house are off. There's no lights coming in from outside.
Right.
So it's
the window directly behind this mannequin
it's pitch black.
pitch black, and there's like no blinds on it.
None.
So it's just this window out into the void.
Yeah, out into the endless void.
Yeah.
The void staring back.
Right.
So it's like, could you imagine like walking through like a house, and like you come upon this room and that thing's just standing there, and it turns its head towards you, and it starts doing that shit. That would be the most utterly terrifying thing ever.
If there was a SWAT team sweeping the house, they'd shoot it.
Yeah, that's some kind of fucking SCP shit. They should do that in like a haunted house.
Right.
Right? Because like you go to like a haunted house and everything's kind of themed and theatrical
very
and everything.
dimly lit. And
Yeah. But if you walked into this one room that's not trying too hard to look like a haunted house, it
Right.
just looks like a dude's living room
Right.
with this mannequin standing in the middle of it, it would be such a shift from everything you were just exposed
Right.
to that you'd be like, is this part of the haunted house? It's like, the haunted chicken coop.
Right.
There's a haunted house over in Alabama called the Haunted Chicken Coop, and it's genuinely one of the best haunted houses I've ever been to.
I think so.
I've gone to it several times. Usually like if you go to a haunted house, you're kind of like, okay, I got the gist of that, like
Yeah.
it's whatever. But that one like is not that it's terrifying. It's just so creative.
Right.
The stuff that they come up with. Like I'll never forget walking into that one room. And the room before it was pitch black. And you walk into this room, and it's completely illuminated. It's 100% white in there.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and they had fog in the room, so it looked
It's
like
super disorienting.
Yeah, it looked like an endless white void.
Right.
And I had never experienced that before. I've been in like pitch black before.
Right.
But going into that, where everything was the exact same shade of white, no matter where you looked, and there was no like discernible lines or features in anything.
Right.
I was like, this is wrong. It was like the world hadn't loaded in yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that was probably that haunted house is probably one of the best ones I've ever been in.
Yeah. I feel too that they do a good job. Like, you have to wait in line a little while, but like they do a good job of like letting you experience everything and not like see it happen to the people ahead of you.
Right.
Because like when we worked over at the Mexican restaurant, we all went as a group to Netherworld over near Atlanta, and that one is like, it's put on by like VFX artists and like makeup artists and like Hollywood people and stuff like that. So you would think like, oh, this is going to be really good. And it's kind of just impressive in the technical aspect of it,
Right.
and like the set pieces are impressive, but it's not frightening or scary. And also, you're going through like a queue line through the whole thing.
Right.
They're not sending people in groups, so you're kind of just seeing everything happen all at once. You're like, oh, look at the guy with the wolf mask, and like, he jumped out and scared that person. Too bad it didn't happen to me. I paid like $100 to do this.
No. Well, it's like they're not actively setting a tone.
Yeah. I think
Well, I think another thing that helps the chicken coop is like it's not like it's out in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yes.
So you pull up and
you're not really sure if this is the right place.
Yeah, you're not really sure if this is the right place, so it kind of already sets the tone of like, am I where I'm supposed to be?
Yeah.
Whereas like I remember in Kennesaw, there was I don't even know if they even do it anymore. It's like 13 stories or something like that.
I think they do.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's out in Kennesaw anymore, but
it was like next to the mall.
Yeah.
You pull up and like park, like there's handicap parking right next to you. It's like I'm already like in this idea of like,
oh, this is just the world.
This is just where I'm like I come to this mall all the time.
Yeah.
Right, and then you like go into. I'm guessing it's like an abandoned building or like a building that they built out. It's like a Spirit Halloween type deal.
Yeah.
Right. And then you walk in. There's a ton of people. And like you said, they're just queuing you through. So you're just like single file just walking through this. I mean, it was good. Like the costumes and stuff were good.
Yeah.
But they're not setting.
You didn't really get to experience.
Yeah, there's no feel to it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're going through and like you'd see like the person jump out and scare the people in front of you. And then you walk by and they try it to you. You're like, okay, I already saw what happens.
Yeah.
There's no mystique to this anymore.
Yeah. Taking all the flavors out of it.
Right.
By the time it gets to me, I think a good haunted house, a step down from McCamey Manor where they actually
this is torture,
where they legitimately torture people and kidnap them and pull out their teeth and poke their eyes and shit. Would be to have a haunted house do a woods walk.
Yeah.
And
like you said, that guy had that orgasm scream or whatever.
It was funny trying to explain to Mary why I knew what that was. But like, you walk to, I would do it like this. I would have a woods walk, and I would have 4 different parking lots around the perimeter of this place.
Yeah.
And you'd need like 10 acres. So like on each quadrant there would be a parking lot. And every time people ask for information about the thing, you would give them directions to one of those parking lots. So people would arrive there and they wouldn't see all the other people. They would see some people there.
Right.
And I wouldn't have any lights and I wouldn't have any signs. I would just have somebody there saying, yes, this is the such and such walk. Please enter this way.
Right.
And I would just send them into the woods.
Right.
And in the woods, there would be no real direction on where to go.
Right.
But I would have actors who hunt the guests. And I would have things like, I'd have some animatronic stuff set up like a guy, like a little goblin comes out of the tree, and blah, 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 something stupid like that.
Like the T-Rex from Jurassic Park.
I would have stuff like that would like at the beginning you're like, oh, well, you know, that was kind of goofy or whatever.
Yeah.
But as the further you get in,
It stops getting so goofy.
it stops getting goofy and it kind of stops being fun.
Yeah.
And like you're just supposed to make it towards the middle. Actually, that's what I would do. In the very middle of the woods, I'd have a spotlight that shot straight up in the air, so you knew where you had to go. You can't just have people
meandering around in the woods.
And the closer you get, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
As far as like the stuff that's scaring you, like I would take away like some of the spookiness of it. Where, you know, it's
Right.
like a dude in a wolf mask, and then I would just have like I don't know. I guess I'd have like a guy who just looks like a guy, but he's fucking creepy. He's like following your group.
Yeah.
And then, like, he would kind of, like, appear in different places. Like, he had spider holes dug out, and he would, like, pop up over here. And then at the very middle of the place where the spotlight is, I would have...
Yeah, somebody ascend.
like, out of the... like, dropping down out of the light.
Yeah.
I would have, like, it would be, like, you know, fake body horror.
Right.
Like people who were like fake, like chopped up and shit like that.
Yeah.
And then I would have like when your group got there and you're seeing all this, you would have other people who were hidden come in behind you with like the machetes and things,
Right.
and just slowly walk towards you. And then once those people start freaking out enough, they would usher you back out.
Right.
But I wouldn't have any theatrical stuff all around the outside. You would never really know if you were in the right spot.
Right.
That's how I would do it.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I do think having somebody like if you could have like the spotlight in the middle or whatever, and then essentially have someone like suspended above it, but you can't really see how they
Like
are
their
suspended.
apparatus.
Yeah. And then like once like enough people get there, like the person just like start screaming and they start like going up into the air. They're like, oh fuck.
Oh god. You'd have to have some dude like who would like
a fishing line.
You'd have to have like some actor who comes out. He's like a priest, and he would like tell all the people. He was like, we needed such and such amount of people here in order to do this unholy sacrament.
Yeah.
It was like the only way we could get you here is by telling you this was a haunted house.
Yeah.
And then you'd have to block everybody off.
Right.
What you would do is you would have like a fence that would come up around people. But I don't know if you can legally do that. I think that's like false imprisonment. Yeah, you'd have like those hog traps, you know, where they drop them and they come down in the big circle. You'd like do a big one of those around.
You'd have like one of those like the Hills Have Eyes people. They're like dropping hog traps right outside. It's like some dude up in the trees.
Yeah, then you'd have him like doing like fake Latin or whatever, and the person in the middle's like screaming as they're just being drug away. No, you tell them because if they're ascending in light, that means that like you'd think they're like going to heaven
Or being abducted by aliens.
or being abducted by aliens. But aliens isn't really like
Yeah.
up until now it was just spooky stuff. Now you're
Right.
bringing in sci-fi. What you do?
Well, you want to hit them from all angles.
It's like a clown and an alien and a zombie.
Keep them on their toes.
Throw a real mean monkey in there. Just have him run around.
Yeah, some monkey that's hopped up on Xanax.
Meth monkey. Dude, did you see the video of that monkey tearing that dude's scalp off?
No.
So it's not extremely graphic. Like you don't see a bunch of blood or anything like that. But it's like a older gentleman over in India, I guess. And he's sitting down, and there's like a bunch of kids around him or whatever, and they're just kind of hanging out. And like this monkey comes up, and I don't mean like a chimp. I mean like a macaque monkey or something like that. He's if he stands up, he's about this tall.
No.
And the monkey comes over and like starts like kind of grabbing the guy's arm or whatever. And the guy's like, "Oh, little monkey," and then it like bites his head and does a flip over the dude's head, and you can see this like strip of scalp go with it, and it's just like the top of the dude's skull. You can just see it.
I cannot do scalping. I cannot do it.
So maybe meth monkey is not a good idea. Because even a little monkey can tear your scalp off.
Like, listen, you've got to sign a waiver before you come in here.
There's a monkey somewhere in the woods.
Some bonobo.
Open up. This guy trying to rape you.
We gave him a bunch of gas station dick pills. You know how scary that'd be to have some monkey high on like
fucking rape ape running around in the woods.
the rape ape.
You'd have to like wait until like the group is like a pretty into the middle, and then you'd have like an intercom come on like release the rape, and you can hear it off in the distance like fuck. Then you turn all the lights off. Just in the woods.
Talk about scary.
Avoid the rape ape.
It'd be like that, was it Semi-Pro with Will Ferrell where he fights that bear and the bear gets out into the...
Yeah, he's like telling everybody to be quiet. Oh, that would be genuinely terrifying. I mean, you know, you'd have to wonder, like, so like the dude with McCamey Manor, right? Like he has to have people sign a waiver,
Right.
and somehow legally he got that
I don't know what like legal process he went through.
to allow him to torture people.
Right.
I mean, allow him to torture people who consented to it. Because I feel like even then, the court's going to be like, no, we're not going to let you do this.
Like they have to sit through like an orientation? Like there's like an orientation you have to sit through.
It's like, well, it's like a 2-week-long process.
Right.
Yeah, it's like a big, long thing.
So you were very aware
yeah, you know what's going to
of
happen.
what's about to befall you.
Yeah. I think they said it's supposed to be like a 24-hour thing.
No.
And I think most people don't. I don't think anybody's ever made it to like hour 4.
No.
Because you're being tortured.
Right. I saw one where he buried somebody alive.
Yeah. So, what are you going to do for another 20 hours?
Yeah. It's not horror.
Yeah.
You're trying to kill somebody.
I think he had one that was like, oh yeah, we talked about it. It was like a worse version of it, like that you could win $20,000 if you completed it. And he was like, yeah, we had to stop offering that one because crazy people kept showing up. I was like, the crazy people are doing the normal one,
Right.
Like the normal people are going to the haunted chicken coop,
Right.
or Rape Ape Woods. Yeah. The fringe degenerates are the one going to McCamey Manor.
Right. He's got like some like Jeffrey Dahmer type person showing up.
Yeah. Just literally drugging you.
Yeah.
And you wake up like hung up by your toenails.
Yeah. You can see there's just like nothing behind those eyes.
Yeah. Just completely dead fish eyes. Well, I think that's about all we got time for today, everybody. If you enjoyed listening to the podcast, make sure you leave a like, a rating, a review, all that good stuff on your favorite podcast platform. That'll help us reach more people. I'm still checking our Facebook page where I asked them to tell me why we can't boost our posts anymore.
We just got zucked.
And it says it's still in review, so I guess they're either lying or it's still in review. It's one of those two things is going on. Either they suck at what they're doing or they're not doing it.
No.
So yeah, if you would like to help out the podcast, make sure you share it with your friends. If we said anything that you disagree with, or if we're flat out wrong about, make sure you let us know. You can send us an email or DM us on Facebook or Twitter, and we'll read the correction here on a segment we have called "I'm Sorry" right here at the end of the podcast. We also have some stickers left over, so if you want stickers, make sure to let us know. We'll get you a couple of those. They're totally free.
Right. Yeah, and sorry about the Super Spooky Friday thing. We just kind of dropped that all of a sudden, so be on the lookout for Friday, Super Spooky Friday, all coming all this October.
Oh, by the way, here's a new thing we're doing. Well, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
Nope, just thank you for the continued support. We really do appreciate it. Like Gary said, if you enjoyed the podcast, remember to leave a like or a review or a rating on your favorite podcast platform. That way it helps more people find us. or share it with somebody that you know. Share it with somebody that maybe is not your mother.
Yeah, or your grandmother.
Or your grandmother.
Yeah. And watch out for rape ape.
Yeah, watch out for rape ape.
All right, everybody, that's the podcast. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye, everyone.